we have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. Knowing is far more important than acquiring knowledge. Knowing means learning. Knowing is always in the present. Hello and welcome to episode 256 of Urgency of Change. Each episode of the Krishnamurti podcast is based on a significant theme of his talks. Extracts have been carefully selected to represent Krishnamurti's different approaches to these universal and timeless topics. This episode's theme is knowing. Upcoming themes are Bliss, Ecstasy and Benediction, Mechanical Living, and Trust. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust based at Brockwood Park in Hampshire, UK. Brockwood is also home to Brockwood Park School, a unique international boarding school offering a personalised, holistic education. It is deeply inspired by Krishnamurti's teaching, which encourages academic excellence, self-understanding, creativity and integrity. Please visit brockwood.org.uk for more information. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on knowing has 4 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's second talk at Rajghat in 1969 and is titled, Is Knowing Based on the Past?
What is knowledge? What do you mean by that word, by that English word, to know? You know Hindi, you know geography, mathematics, you know biology. You read, get information about it, store it up in your memory, and pass some examinations. And you say, I know something of biology, mathematics. Or you say you know your father, or your mother, or your friend. I know him. You understand? I know him. When you say I know that person, you only know him from your relationship with him during a certain period of time. Right? Can you say you ever know anybody? Can you ever say, I know my father, my mother, my brother, my wife, my husband? Because the husband, the wife, the mother, they're all changing all the time. Various experiences are taking place, various pressures, various impressions are going. So there is a constant change going on. So one can never say about a human being, I know. You got it? Oh Lord. Have you understood what I said? See how important it is to understand this. Never to say, I know somebody. He's my brother and I know him. You know him only by name and so on, but you don't know him because what you know of him took place yesterday or many yesterdays, and today he might have changed. Therefore, you can never say, I know. You know what that means? What an important step you have taken when you say, I don't know. I don't know my brother. I don't know my father. Moment you say, I know somebody, you have already fixed him. You have already put him in a cage. And according to that reference, am I using big words? You are then saying, I know him because he did this, this, this. So one has to be extremely careful in the usage of the word to know. Even in science, they're adding every day to already the knowledge which they have already accumulated over 2 centuries. They're adding, adding, adding. No scientist says, I know. Because things are changing, adding, new things are being discovered. So, knowledge is always a thing in which there is constant movement of accumulation, discarding. Right? Isn't it? And when you say, I know biology, you only know what they have discovered up to now. You don't know what is going to be discovered tomorrow. You only know a certain amount, not the whole of it. Right? So even there, one must be hesitant, careful, watchful, never to say, I know. Now, there is the factual knowledge about things. You know how to get to your home. You know your name, you know the father's name and so on. You know. But there is also the knowing of oneself. Right? To know oneself. Can you ever say, I know myself? Who is it that says, I know myself? Please, this is important to understand. I'll go into it slowly, you will see it for yourself. Can you ever say, I know myself? Because yourself is undergoing change. Right? Is learning, acquiring more information about itself. So to say I know myself is an illusion. It's not a fact. It's not real. Right? So can you say about anything I know? You understand? Can any mathematician, however extraordinarily brilliant he may be, can he ever say, I know mathematics? It would be silly on his part if he said, I know. Because there's more to be discovered. That's one thing. Can you ever say, I know myself? It's absolutely impossible to say, I know myself, because I am changing, moving, discovering, learning. Can I ever say, I know about history? And there are people who say, I know God. Right? Can they know God? They know what they think is God. What they have built an image according to their conditioning, what they think God is. Right? Are you following all this? So, when a man says, it doesn't matter who it is, a sannyasi, a saint, or anybody who says, I know God, I have realized God, be very doubtful of him. Don't trust him. Because he knows what he thinks is God according to his imagination. Right? So, a mind that says, I know, is caught in a trap of its own making. Huh? I've got all this. What's up? So, one asks, what is knowledge? What is knowing? Is knowledge always in the past? Or is it something to be acquired in the future and therefore uncertain? Or is knowing the active present only and nothing else? Oh Lord. Knowing is far more important than acquiring knowledge. Knowing means learning, right? Learning, which is it is the active present of the verb to know. The knowing is always in the present, always learning. So, a mind that has acquired knowledge and acts according to that knowledge, or according to that experience, or according to that tradition, is never learning. It's always living in the past. And therefore incapable of meeting the present. And it is only the mind that meets the present with the active principle of knowing, learning. So, Life, the living, is a movement of learning.
The second extract is from the second talk in Bangalore 1971 and is titled Knowing What Love Is.
When you look at this flower, at the moment you observe it closely, there is no observer, there is only a looking. Then you say, that is, you begin to name that flower, right? Then you say, I wish I had it in my garden or in my house. Then you have already begun to build an image about that flower. So the image maker is the observer, right? Are you following all this? Spot it in yourself, please. So the image and the image maker is the observer, and the observer is the past. The me as the observer is the past. The me is the knowledge which I have accumulated, knowledge of pain, sorrow, suffering, agony, despair, loneliness, jealousy, the tremendous anxiety that one goes through. That's all the me, which is the accumulated knowledge of the observer, which is the past, right? So when you observe, the observer looks at that flower with the eyes of the past. And you don't know how to look without the observer. And therefore, you bring about conflict. So now our question is, can you look not only at the flower, but at your life, at your agony, at your despair, your sorrow? Can you look at it without naming it, without saying to yourself, I must go beyond it, I must suppress it, just to look at it, without the observer? Do it, please, as we are talking now. That is, take your particular form or particular tendency, or take, which most people are, envy. All right, let's take that. You know what envy is, don't you, very well? You're very familiar with that. Envy is comparison. The measurement of thought, comparing what you are with what should be, or with what you want to become. So you know what envy is. Now, just look, take it. Now, when that reaction comes into being, that is, you are envious of your neighbor who's got a bigger car, better house, is an awful politician, all the rest of it. And you look at it and you say, and you suddenly feel envious. That is, you have compared yourself with him, and envy is born. Now, you have that envy. You know what that feeling is. Now, can you look at that feeling without saying that is right or wrong, without naming it? You understand? Without saying that it is envy. To look at it without any image. Then you go beyond it. You understood? Instead of struggling with envy, that you should or should not, that you must suppress it because so and so, or without going through all that struggle and nonsensical, without any meaning, observe your anger, your envy, without naming it. Because the naming is the movement of the past memory which says, justifies or condemns. But if you can look at it without naming, then you will see that you go beyond it. So, the moment you know the possibility of going beyond what is, you are full of energy. Right? It's the man who doesn't know how to go beyond what is, because he doesn't know how to deal with it. Therefore he is afraid, he escapes. Then, seeing the impossibility of it, such a person loses energy. You understand this, sir? If you have a problem, if you can solve it, then you have energy. A man who has 1,000 problems, doesn't know what to do with them, he loses his energy. So in the same way, look at your life, what it is, ugly, petty, shallow, extraordinarily violent. These are all words to describe what is actually going on. Not only the violence in sex, but violence that abides with power, position, prestige. Now look at it with eyes that don't immediately jump with images. Now, that's your life. And look at your life in which there is what you call love. What is love? We are not discussing the theories of what love should be. We are observing what we call love. I love my wife. I don't know what you love. I doubt if you love anything at all. Do you know what it means to love? Is love pleasure? Is love jealousy? Can a man love who is ambitious? He may sleep with his wife, beget few children, and a man who is struggling politically to become an important person, or in the business world, or in the religious world also, you understand? When he wants to become a saint, when he wants to become desireless. Now, all that is part of ambition, aggression, desire. Can a man who is competitive love? And you're all competitive, aren't you? Better job, better position, better house, better, more noble ideas, more perfect images of yourself, all that business you go through. And is that love? Can you love when you're going through all this tyranny? When you can dominate your wife or a husband or your children? When you're seeking power? Is there a possibility of love? So, in negating what is not love, there is love. You understand? You understand, sirs? You have to negate everything which is not love, which is no ambition, no competition, no aggression, no violence, either in speech or in act or in thought. Now when you negate that which is not love, then you know what love is. And love is something that is intense, that you feel very strongly. Love is not pleasure. Therefore one must understand pleasure, not what aim to love somebody. Understand pleasure, which is, as we explained it yesterday evening, if you haven't heard it, so much worse for you, or think it out for yourself. So, when you see what your life is, in which there is no love, there is no beauty, there is no freedom, you ought to shed tears, seeing actually how barren your life is. And this barren life is the result of your culture, of your sacred books, because they have said don't look at the sky because there is beauty, and that beauty might be transferred to the woman. If you are to be a religious man, withdraw from the world. Deny the world. The world is a maya, is an illusion. Escape from it. And you have escaped from it, because your life shows it. So, if you can observe your life, you will find out for yourself what love is. Because in that lies great passion. Not lust, passion. The word passion comes from sorrow. The root meaning of that word, passion, is sorrow. You know what it means to suffer? Not how to escape from suffering or what to do about suffering, but to suffer, to have great pain inwardly. You understand? Then when there is no movement of escape from that sorrow, out of that comes great passion, which is compassion.
The third extract is from Krishnamurti's second talk in Saanen 1972 and is titled, How Do You Know You Are Petty or Dull?
My mind is petty, mechanical, small. What am I to do with it? Right? Do you know your mind is small? Petty, anxious, jealous, envious, competitive, comparing. Do you know it? Are you aware of your mind being like that? Yes? Oh, for God's sake, let's be honest sometime. Right. I'm aware of it. What shall I do? So, when you say I am aware of it, What do you mean by that word aware? When you say, I know my mind is petty, what do you mean by that word know? Please, this is important. Do you know it because you have compared your mind with another mind which is not petty? You have understood my question? I say my mind is petty, narrow, stupid, dull, idiotic, neurotic. How do I know it? Because somebody has told me? Because I have compared it with another mind which is, I think is not neurotic, which I think is free, which I think is, right? So do I discover my pettiness through comparison? Through measurement? Right? Now, measurement, comparison is the factor that makes the mind petty. I don't know if you see this. Now, this is an insight, you understand? I compare myself with you, who are very clever, bright, clear-eyed, and nice-looking, compare, measure myself with you. And I say, oh my God, how dull I am. What does that mean? Through comparison, I have found that I am dull. And this is my education. You understand? I have been educated to compare myself always. In the school, in college, as I grow, compare, measure myself with another. Therefore, I say to myself, why do I measure at all? You're following all this? Why do I measure? If I don't measure, am I dull? I don't know. No, I don't know. I've assumed through comparison I'm dull. Please follow this. This is an insight. And can the mind, which is conditioned through centuries of education to compare, you understand? Religiously, economically, socially, in every way to compare, measure, can that measurement come to an end? That's my first question. It can only come to an end if I have an insight into the stupidity of measurement. Why should I compare myself with you? You may be most marvelous human being, the greatest saint on earth or the savior, whatever. Why should I compare myself with you? I compare myself with you because I have been educated to compare. My brother is better than me. My uncle is much more brighter than you follow? So I have an insight which says, don't compare. How silly. Now, having an insight into that, I stop comparing. Then what am I? You're following? What am I? I don't know. Right? I really don't know. Are you following this? When you don't compare yourself with somebody, what are you? You're going to find out, aren't you? Right? You don't say, I'm petty, small, bourgeois, limited, how ugly, this or that. I don't know. So I'm going to find out. Right? When I say I'm stupid, dull, narrow, I have come to a conclusion through comparison. A conclusion puts an end to insight. So, the insight shows to me the futility of comparison. I won't compare. It's finished. Forever. You understand? Therefore, I'm going to see what I am. The moment I reject comparison, I am no longer stupid. Because I have an insight into the whole structure of comparison. You got it? Which is intelligence, which is greater than the comparative value of pettiness and greatness. Have you got it? Right.
The final extract in this episode is from the fourth talk in New Delhi 1965 and is titled Knowing What It Is to Live and to Die.
So there is this question of fear and of fear of something which we don't know, which we call death. So we separate life, living, from death. We haven't understood living, nor have we understood death. Because to understand life means to enter into life, to come into contact with life. Life being greed, envy, brutality, hate, war, greed, escape, the bestiality, the craving for power, position. That's what we call life. That is the life you lead every day, whether you are a sannyasi or a businessman or an artist. There is a boiling going on inside, burning. And that we call life. And we have not understood this thing. We are not free of it. We are not free of our anxieties, guilt, anguishes. Nor have we understood this enormous thing called death. So we have not understood living, nor have we understood the enormous significance of dying. Now, if we begin to understand living, living, not battling, not being in conflict, not being tortured, or torturing yourself to find God. A human being who tortures himself to find God, such torture is not worth it. You will never find God, or whatever that is. By distortion, you cannot find truth. You want a clear, sane, rational, healthy mind, not a tortured, twisted mind. So, one must be free. Free from fear of life itself. Free from your anxieties, from your conflicts, from your avarice, greed, envy, whether it is for money or for God, one must be free of that. Then you come directly into contact with life. Then living is related to dying. Please follow this. Surely, a man who has no love is always in despair, who is seeking authority, position, prestige, envious, callous. Such a man is not living. He doesn't know what life is. All he knows is the little mind, whether it is a politician or the sannyasi or the businessman or the artist, the little mind, the petty little mind and its worries. That's all he knows. And it is only when he is free of that pettiness, of his fears, then he will know what it is to live. And when he knows what it is to live, then he will know what it is to die. Because we have separated living from dying. Dying being coming to an end, psychologically, physiologically. And we think we are living. And our living is sorrow. So unless there is an ending to sorrow, there is no understanding of death. So one has to find out for oneself, not because somebody else says so. You have fed on other people's discoveries. You are bound by tradition, by authority, by fear. You haven't found out, as a human being living in this world, tortured, suffering, how to end suffering. We know how to escape from suffering. Through drink, through amusement, through sex, through going to temple, reading, dozen ways we have. But we have never come into contact with it and end it. It's only the mind that ends sorrow that can have wisdom. And it's only when the mind that is free from sorrow can know what it means to love. So, our question then is it possible, not in some distant future, is it possible living in this world now, today, is it possible to be free of sorrow and come into contact with something which we don't know, which we call death, which is the unknown? What we are afraid of is not the unknown, but letting go of the known. You are not afraid of death, the ending, but you are afraid of losing what you have, what you know, your experiences, your family, your little pleasures, your knowledge, your technology, the things that you know. And you say, by Jove, I have learned so much, I know so much, and death comes, I shall lose everything. And that's what you are frightened of, not the extraordinary nature of death. And what are you holding on to? The no. What is the no? Your family, your little house, the squalor of that house, the dirt of the other street, the lack of beauty, the effort, the jealousies, the anxieties, the pettiness of the office, the boss, that's all you know. And that we are afraid to let go. So, when you let that go happily, easily, with grace and beauty, that is to die to the known, then you will know what it is to die, so that you will know the unknown. Now, please listen to this. Can you end immediately, not through time, not through gradual process, discipline, torturing yourself? Can you end your fear immediately? That is really the question, not what will happen after death. But can you end a habit, sexual habit, psychological habits, physical habits, end them immediately? If you know you can end them, to end them is to be free of them. Put an end to your worries, to your fears, to your greed, wanting to be powerful, strong, great shot. Because if you do not know how to end these petty things of life, the things that you know to which the mind clings, then you will be living in a state of turmoil all the time, and therefore confused. And it is only the confused mind that is in sorrow, not the mind that thinks clearly, that comes directly into contact with facts. So, dying is the dying to the things that you know. Not to the unpleasant things known, but to the pleasant also. You would like to die, put aside to the memories of pain, to the insults. But you like to keep the memories which are pleasant, which give you satisfaction. But to put an end to die to the pleasure as well as to the pain. And one can do it if you give your attention completely to every thought, to every feeling. Attention, not contradiction. Not say, I don't like it, I like it. Just to give attention. what it is to give attention to something. Attention is not concentration. When you concentrate, as more people try to do, what takes place when you're concentrating? You are cutting yourself off, resisting, pushing away every thought except that one particular thought or that particular action. So your concentration breeds resistance. And therefore concentration does not bring freedom. Please, this is very simple if you observe it yourself. But whereas if you're attentive to everything that's going on about you, attentive to the dirt, the filth of the street, attentive to the bus which is so dirty, attentive of your words, the gesture, the way you talk to your boss, the way you talk to your servant, to the superior and the inferior, the respect, the callousness of those below you, the words, the ideas. If you are attentive to all that, not correct it, just to attend, then out of that attention you can then know a different kind of concentration. One is aware of all this, of the setting. You're all sitting there, the noise of people talking over there on the roof. And you're all hushing them up, asking them not to talk, turning your head. To be aware of the various colors, the costumes. And yet, concentration is going on. Such concentration is not exclusive, in that there is no effort, whereas concentration demands effort. So, if you give your attention totally, that is, with your nerves, with your eyes, with your ears, with your mind, with your brain, totally, completely, to understand fear, then you will say, you can instantly be free of it. Completely. Because it's only a very clear mind, not living in the darkness of fear and the confusion of many wants. It's only such a clear, lucid mind that can go beyond death, because it has understood living. Living is not a battle, is not a torture. A living is not something to be run away from, to the mountains, to a monastery. We run away because living is a torture, an ugly nightmare. And if you give your attention to one thing totally, you will see. Out of that freedom you will know what love is. Because for most of us, love has very little meaning. Because for most of us, love is surrounded by jealousy, by hate, how can there be love when you compete with another in the office? Please listen. Without love, without this feeling of beauty, life naturally becomes utterly empty. And being empty, we seek the gods which are man-made. Therefore, being empty, beliefs, dogmas, ritual become very important because we fill that emptiness with these tawdry affairs of things. Tawdry affairs which have been put together by man. So, if you would know what love is, there must be freedom from jealousy, from conflict, from the desire to dominate, the desire to be powerful, which means you must live peacefully to know what love is. Not outside of life, but actually every day. Then there is one other important thing in our life, which is we do not know what creation is. Because we are bound by authority. The word authority means the author, the one who originated something, an idea, a concept, a vision, a way of life, thought out or lived by another. He's the originator of that. And we see that person living in a certain way, feeling, thinking certain way, and we want that, therefore we imitate that. Therefore that person or that idea, that concept, that ideal becomes the authority. The authority of tradition, the authority of your particular pet religion, and a mind that has authority, that is bound by authority, can never be in a state of creation, because you see, authority breeds fear. All that we are concerned is to be told what to do, and we do it. Technologically, as well as psychologically. That's why all these innumerable gurus exist in the world. Because we are frightened. They know, you don't know. They tell you what you should do, as the scientists, as the doctors. So you depend on authority. Now, authority of law and the authority of fear are two different things. One has to obey the authority of law, which says keep to the left. When you are driving, go on the left side. That's That must be. You must pay your tax, you must buy a stamp if you would, post a letter, and so on, so on, so on. Law. But the authority set by a pattern of a society as what is the religious idea, the concept which has been established by tradition as what is God, what is this, and so on, so on, so on. The authority of religion, the sanctions of religion, which you blindly accept, or you think you have investigated but have not because you are frightened. So authority in any form psychologically is the most destructive thing, because then you makes you followers. Then you follow, you don't investigate, you don't find out, you don't search out and discover for yourself. But after all, truth is something that cannot be given to you. You have to find it out for yourself. And to find it out for yourself, you must be a law to yourself. You must be a guide to yourself. Not the political man that is going to save the world, not the communist, not the leader, not the priest, not the sannyasis, not the books. You have to live, you have to be a law to yourself. And therefore no authority, which means completely standing alone. Not outwardly, but inwardly, completely alone, which means no fear. And when the mind has understood the nature of fear, nature of death, and that extraordinary thing called love, when it has understood, not verbalized, not thought about, but actually lived, then out of that understanding comes a mind that is active but completely still. This whole process of understanding life, of freeing oneself from all the battles, not in some future, but immediately, giving your whole attention to it. All that is meditation. Not sitting in some corner and holding your nose and repeating some silly words, mesmerizing yourself. That's not meditation at all, that's self-hypnosis. But to understand life, to be free from sorrow, actually, not verbally, not theoretically, but actually, to be free of fear and of death, brings about a mind that's completely still. And all that is meditation. And it's only a very still mind, not disciplined mind. A mind that has understood, therefore free. It's only that still mind can know what is creation. Because the word God has been spoiled. You can call it the other way, dog. It has no meaning anymore. Hitler believed in God, and your politicians believe in God, They destroy each other, kill each other, torture. There are those who torture themselves to find God. So it has no meaning anymore. So just a word. But to find out that something which is beyond time. You must have a very still mind. And that still mind is not a dead mind, but tremendously active. Anything that is moving at the highest speed and active is always quiet. It's only the dull mind that worried about, anxious, fearful. Such a mind can never be still. And it is only such a mind that still is a religious mind. And it is only the religious mind that can find out or be in that state of creation. And it is only such a mind that can bring about peace in the world. And that peace is your responsibility. Your responsibility, each one of us. Not the politician, not the soldier, not the lawyer, not the businessman, not the communist, socialist, nobody. It is your responsibility. How you live your daily life. If you want peace in the world, you have to live peacefully, not hating, not being envious, not seeking power, not pursuing competition, because out of that freedom from these, you have love. It's only a mind that is capable of loving will know what it is to live peacefully.